A unit circle is defined simply as a circle with a radius of 1. In math, it is typically plotted on a graph with the center of 0, 0. The angles of a unit circle go from 0 to 360 degrees. The first quadrant has angles 0 to 90. The second quadrant has angles 90 to 180. The third quadrant has angles 180 to 270. And the fourth quadrant has angles 270 to 360. To locate a specific angle degree, you would just go to the quadrant that angle was located. There are about 6.2 radians, measured in terms of pi, enclosed in the circumference of the unit circle, about 1.5 per quadrant. If you had an angle degree and were trying to find the radian measure of the unit circle, you could just multiply the degree by pi over 180. If you were trying to do the opposite, go from radians to degrees, you would multiply the radian by 180 over pi. One benefit of the unit circle is that the degree and radian measures can be used to find the sine, cosine, and tangent. On the unit circle, the x value represents the cosine, the y value represents the sine, and the y value divided by the x value is the tangent. To find those values, you can either use inverse sine, cosine, and tangent, or for the special coordinates on the graph, you can use triangle relationships to solve. In the unit circle, there are 12 special coordinates. In degrees, these points are 30, 45, 60, 120, 135, 150, 210, 225, 240, 300, 315, and 330. The first three, 30, 45, and 60, are the points that correspond to the 30, 60, 90 triangles and the 45, 45, 90 triangles. Knowing these relationships and the fact that the hypotenuse is 1 are what helps to figure out what the point on the circle is. All the rest of the special coordinates are just reflections of the first three. The symmetry of the unit circle is much like that of a graph. In the first quadrant, both the x, cosine, and y sine coordinates are positive. In quadrant 2, the x's are negative and the y's are positive. In the third quadrant, both x's and y's are negative, and in the fourth quadrant, the x's are positive and y's are negative. Each angle measure in quadrant 1 also has 3 other corresponding measures in the other quadrant. To find this, we'll call it value n. You would use a few different equations. If you already have the angle measure in the first quadrant, to find it in the second quadrant, you would use 180 minus n. If you wanted to find it in the third quadrant, you would use 180 plus n. If you wanted to find it in the fourth quadrant, you would use 360 minus n. And if you wanted to go from a different quadrant to quadrant 1, you'd use 360 minus n. That is about it to the unit circle.
Go unit
The end.
circles!